Hello book lovers and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video on my top favourite books that I read in 2020, which is quite exciting. I get to talk about some of my favourite books that I've read in the last year. I have 6 books to go over, and these were all 5-star reads in 2020. I actually didn't get around to reading lots of books in 2020 just because I had a lot going on, which is why I didn't really film many videos either, just because I had a lot going on with university and just everything going on in the world right now, so I didn't read as many books as I usually do, but I'm still happy with all the books that I read because I still read some really great books this year. So I'm just going to get straight on into the video, and this is in no particular order, by the way. This is just all of, well, some of my favourite books that I read this year. Yeah, so I'm going to start off with one of the books that I read the earliest in the year. And I read this literally when it came out at the start of 2020, and that is Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas. Oh god, I absolutely loved this book. I think it's a big book, and I sat and read it in about 2 days. I just literally couldn't put it down. I just read it non-stop. But I just love anything Sarah J. Maas writes, to be honest. I think she just writes some amazing characters and some amazing worlds. How stunning is it? How stunning is the illustration in there? Oh my gosh. I'm obsessed with this book. It's so stunning. Okay, so I'm sure most of you know, but if you do not know, Crescent City is set in Crescent City, and we follow Bryce as she tries to avenge the death of her best friend. And now in this city we have all different kinds of species. There's wolves, there's fae, there's angels, all different kinds of races, like fantastical races in this book. And we follow Bryce as she goes on this adventure along with Hunt, who is an angel. And this is kind of a bit enemies to lovers in a way, I guess, because he has to watch over her basically. But they end up working together as she tries to find out what is happening in this city and what happened to her best friend. And this is honestly an amazing read. I really, really loved it. It's full of action and the humour. I love the humour in it between Hunt and Bryce. And I just love how we see these characters change on their journey. Yeah, I think this was really well thought out. And I just cannot wait for the second book. I think the world she wrote so amazingly. I think I just fell straight into this magical city. I honestly couldn't stop thinking about it for ages after I read it. I'm definitely going to reread this very soon before the second one comes out, just because I want it all to be fresh, considering I read it when it came out. I think, when did this come out? I want to say like March 2020, but that could be completely wrong. But it came out early in the year. So considering I read it such a long time ago, I'm definitely going to need to reread this, but I absolutely love Bryce and Hunt. I also really, really loved Danica. And Connor, I fell in love with them at the start of this book. Okay, so next up on the list we have The King of Crows by Libba Bray. Now this is the final book in the Diviners series, and I absolutely love this series. I think I started reading it the year before last, 2019, I think I started reading the Diviners. Oh my god, I completely fell in love with this series. It is up there as one of my top 5 favourite series of all time. It was in a video that I did about my favourite series. If you do not know, the Diviners is set in the 1920s in New York, and it is about ghost, murder, mystery, and people with powers called Diviners. So The King of Crows, this is the final book. I'm not going to go into any detail about this as it is the final book, and I don't want to give anything away, any of the storyline. But yes, so the Diviners series is kind of like fantastical ghost murder mystery. In the first book we follow our main character, who is a diviner. She can read the past of objects, and she moves to New York to live with her uncle, who owns this kind of ghost museum, and they basically work together to uncover these murders that are happening. And it's, yeah, a ghost murder mystery basically, and it honestly is so amazing. I love this book. The characters, I love the relationship between the characters. My god, I absolutely love it. I love the setting. Anything in 1920s New York I'm just going to read, and I'm going to love it. probably one of my favourite time settings to read. So yeah, if you love murder mystery and you love ghosts and you love people with supernatural abilities, I would definitely recommend this. I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. Again, I couldn't put it down. I just think this whole entire series is so amazing. I think Libba Bray has done an amazing job with the setting, with the characters, with the storyline. It's so well thought out. So yeah, this I gave 5 out of 5 stars. So next up we have, right, so it's Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. This was one of the last books I read this year. I think I read it around Boxing Day, but it still made there to one of my favourite reads of 2020. I absolutely love this book. So if you don't know, in this book we follow Lou, who is a rebellious witch, and Reed, who is a witch hunter. And now this is an enemies to lovers trope. So Lou basically ends up being forced into a marriage with Reed. Reed does not know that she is a witch, and we basically follow them as this really hard relationship unfolds, and all the while Lou is on the run from this person who is after her, though we don't know who that person is at the beginning. So there is a lot going on in this book, and it's actually, I really enjoyed reading the relationship of Lou and Reed. Reed is this very uptight kind of like a religious type who's very, everything has to be a certain way, no bad language, no breaking the law, and Lou is very rebellious. She uses very bad language all the time. She does what she wants, she doesn't apologise for it, so they're complete opposites, so it's really funny to watch their relationship. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book, and I will definitely be picking up the next one. But yeah, if you love enemies to lovers trope, which I know most people do, then yeah, definitely pick this up if you haven't already. I do know that this is very popular on BookTube at the moment, and a lot of people have picked it up. So yeah, this was definitely one of my favourite reads of 2020. So next we have one that I have talked about before on my channel, and that is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Now sadly, as much as this is one of my favourite reads of 2020, sadly it's been kind of hindered by the fact that I started the second book at the end of 2020, and I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't even finish it. I had to stop halfway through. I'm hoping to pick it up again and get into it. I just found it was all a bit like fluffy in the second book. There wasn't really much happening. I think I'm on like I'm like nearly halfway through and nothing's happened. Like they've just been in the same place and they moved to another place, and it just seemed to just be dragging out and nothing's really happening. I'm hoping to pick it up again, and I'm hoping that more starts to happen towards the end of the book, because I absolutely loved this first book. And it's a bit of a shame if I don't continue the series, because I loved the characters in this book and I really love the setting of this book. So if you do not know, in this book we follow Poppy, who has been chosen as the maiden. Now the maiden in this world, she's basically kept under lock and key. She's not allowed to live a normal life. She's not allowed to have friends or go out anywhere or have any fun or do anything basically like that, anything to do with a normal life. And then we have Hawk, who is her bodyguard. He basically protects her in this world, because there's a lot of dangers in this world as well. We have the Kraken, who are like these zombie-like creatures that, you know, if they bite you, you turn into a Kraken, and they constantly attacking the cities. So there's a lot going on in this book. I don't really want to go into too much. I feel like it is quite a lot of depth to this book. And it is, I mean, people say that it's a very steamy book, but I don't think it was that steamy until the very end. Like the very end is when it gets a bit steamy, but this book has an amazing twist at the end, which honestly just completely blows your mind, and it really gets you gripped. To be honest, I think this is a bit like the second book, where it was all a bit slow at the start, and then at the end it really picks up pace. But we follow Poppy as she tries to navigate her way through this world, as she deals with her own inner struggles and dilemmas about being the maiden, whether she wants to be the maiden, and what that means for her. Yeah, I did absolutely love this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, but unfortunately I'm not sure if I will be continuing on with this book. Let me know in the comments if you have read the second book and what you think about it, if you think it's good, or if you finished it, if you kind of get where I'm coming from. I'm not sure if it's just me, it seems to be that everyone loves it. But I just thought it was a bit slow. As much as I love the characters, I was getting a bit tired of just constantly seeing them making out. And nothing happening, there's no action, there's nothing happening, it's just them making out all the time. So yeah, that is from Blood and Ash. We have another book that I've talked about before on this channel, and that is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerry Maniscalco. I'm actually putting the second book on this as well, Hunting Prince Dracula. I read these around October time, Halloween, and absolutely loved them. I completely fell in love with the writing, with the world, with the characters. So this is set in 1800s London, and we follow Audrey, who basically deals with autopsy, like dead bodies, basically the science of dead bodies, and that is very, very unheard of for a girl to do in 18th century London. And it's very frowned upon, but Audrey doesn't care. She just does what she wants anyway. And then we have Thomas Cresswell, who also does an autopsy in dead bodies. And we follow these two as they work alongside the Jack the Ripper case, trying to figure out who the killer is. I completely love this book. It is so gripping. It's done so well. I really didn't think I would enjoy it because I hate gore, but I absolutely love this book, so much so that I picked up the second one straight away and read it straight away. And I'm going to be reading the third one as soon as I get my hands on it. Yeah, Kerry Maniscalco is like a new author that I discovered in 2020, and I literally just picked up her other book, Kingdom of the Wicked. So I'm hoping to love this one just as much as I loved her other books. But yeah, she's a new author I discovered. I'm so glad I did discover her because I really love her books. I absolutely love Audrey and Thomas Cresswell. I love watching as their relationship kind of unfolds between this book and the second book. The settings are both very different in these books, but the storylines are kind of, they're based on a whole autopsy, murder mystery. Yeah, absolutely love these books. I also love as we watch Audrey Rose as she kind of defies the 1800s society standards for her. She doesn't dress how they think she should dress. She doesn't do what they think she should do. And I absolutely love watching that. Some of my favourite scenes are when she walks onto the scene of a dead body and the officers don't want to let her on there and she just doesn't have it. She's like, I'm going over there and I'm going to search that dead body. But yeah, I absolutely loved this series. I think the next one is Escaping from Houdini. I'm really hoping to pick that up very soon. So yeah, so up next we have Crystal Storm by Morgan Rhodes. Now I read the entirety of the Frozen Tides series, of a Falling Kingdoms series in about a month. I had read the first 3 books before, but it had been so long ago that I had to reread all of them, and I absolutely fell in love with the series all over again. But I do think Crystal Storm, which is book 5, I rated higher than I rated book 6. I'm not entirely sure why, I just feel like I enjoyed this book a lot more. So in this series we follow a few main characters. We follow Cleo, Jonas and Magnus are kind of our 3 main characters in this first book, and we follow their kingdom is completely tied up in war. Now all 3 of these characters are from different sections of their continent, their country. Cleo is from the wealthy city, Jonas is from the poor city, and Magnus is from the ice city of Limeros. So Jonas and Magnus, both of their areas end up going to war against Cleo's. So this basically is all about magic and war, described as a bit like Game of Thrones. But yeah, I absolutely loved this series. I think it's very gripping. There's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of different characters and different storylines you follow. But I really loved Crystal Storm, to be honest. I love as we watch the different relationships between the characters. I don't really want to say too much because it's just going to give away the rest of the series. But all I will say is I absolutely love Cleo and Magnus, and I love Jonas. He's probably one of my favourites. Yeah, I think this book is honestly amazing. I love the magic in this and the idea of the Watchers. So in this series you have the Watchers, who are basically these immortal beings who can turn into birds, and they watch over the world basically, which is why there's a bird on the cover. And they are basically tied to the sanctuary. They cannot leave the sanctuary unless it's in bird form. And this is because the magic in the world is dying. And as well as there being a war between all of these different cities, at the same time they are having to fight to try and save magic. And well, some people want to use the magic for themselves, but really they need to save their country and save magic before everything dies and collapses. So yeah, that is my final favorite 5-star books, 5-star read from 2020. Yeah, so think that was about 6 books. And they are all of my favourite 5-star reads from 2020. As I said, I didn't read too much in 2020. I did hit my Goodreads goal, but that is only because I put my Goodreads goal at like 20 books because I didn't want to put pressure on myself. I do that every year. I only ever set my Goodreads goal to somewhere between 20 and 30 books just because I don't like putting pressure on myself. I want to just read when I feel like reading. I don't want to force myself to read if I'm not, you know, if I'm in a book slump or something, and I don't want to be constantly worrying about meeting a goal. So I usually put it as low so that nothing seems bad, because I know that I'm always going to read at least 20 books a year, at least. So I always put it like at that so that I never have to worry about hitting my goal. So yeah, it doesn't really mean much that I hit my goal. I hit it every year, but yeah, so I'm hoping to read a lot more this year. I'm probably going to have a little bit more time, although I am in my 3rd year of uni. That will be finishing in April. So I'm hoping to have more time, and obviously now we're in lockdown for a couple more months, so I probably will be reading a lot more books. And I'm definitely going to be doing a book haul soon because I honestly have bought so many books since December. I've literally bought so many books. I think it will be a really long video. I might have to split it into 2, like maybe a Christmas one and then January one. So yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.